Hello, my name is Kristen and this is Kristen Craves Books. So today I am doing my monthly most anticipated books of the year, and we are already into September. And fall is a huge season for publishing, so there are a lot of books I want to talk about. Actually, a few of them I've already read. I was lucky enough to get ALCs or e-arcs of them. So I will talk about those as well and give you my brief thoughts, but I think most of them I read in August, so I look forward to my wrap-up where I talk about those in greater detail. But I'm just going to tell you when they come out, give you a brief synopsis. Some of these I know more about than others, so let's just get right to it. So the next few books I'm going to talk about, they come out September 7th, and the first one is one that I know so many of us are anticipating, and actually Libro FM sent me an ALC of, so I've already read it, and that is Beautiful World, Where Are You by Sally Rooney. And this is Sally Rooney's third book, and it's interesting because I know her books are very hit or miss for people. You either love them or you hate them, and I happen to love normal people and conversations with friends, and I think I just got those more than I get this one, her newest one. I don't relate to the conversations that are being had in here as much. I didn't feel a connection to the characters. It's the same kind of characters where they're flawed and they're just very human, but I just didn't form a connection with them like I did in her other two books. But I also want to note that I listened to this one on audio and I physically read the other two, so I'm wondering if audio just isn't what works for me for Sally Rooney's books. Maybe I have to read them physically, so I am open to doing that. And I'm so excited for you all to read it so that more conversations are had about it, so maybe I can look at it in a new way. I think Sally Rooney's books are good for discussion. So not too much happens in this one. It's conversations between two friends, but they're have a complicated relationship. They're not always nice to each other, and they're just talking about their daily lives, really, their relationships, their romances, their work, and it gets very complicated. And yeah, some interesting conversations, but I just look forward to everybody else reading it so I could talk about it with other people and really work out how I felt about it. The next one I think was actually a book of the month pick for August, and that is The Inheritance of Requeta Divina, and that is by Zoraida Cordova. And there have been a lot of books that have come out recently that are actually focused on inheritance. I can think of The Inheritance Game and a few others. I think that's a really interesting topic. And this one, I know that it follows a family who is cursed and that this is considered a horror. So when our main character dies, we're following her present ancestors and then previous ones and the curse that follows the family. I think it all starts to unravel and is supposed to be really creepy, so I'm really looking forward to that one. Next is one that I haven't seen a lot of people talk about, but the cover really caught my eye, and I'm really in the mood for thrillers and horror this time of year, and this one looks really good, and it is called Dark and Shallow Lies, and that is by Ginny Meyer Sain. And I'm actually going to read you the tagline because I think taglines can tell you a lot about a book. And it says, "In this town, magic runs deep, but secrets run deeper." So I love books where that take place in a small town and everybody has a secret, and I know that this is what this book is about. I believe it takes place on the bayou, and somebody goes missing, people are going missing, and everybody in the town has a dark secret, and our main character slowly discovering what's going on here. So that's creepy. That's all I need to know about it. I really want to pick that one up. Then the last one for September 7th is actually one that looks more fun and something lighter, because I'm going to read a lot of heavier, darker, atmospheric, creepy books in September and October, so it's nice to have a few like this. And it's called The Charm Offensive, and this is by Alison Cochrane. And this just looks adorable. And there's been a lot of books about reality dating shows recently. I know we have one to watch, If the Shoe Fits, and this one is actually a little bit different because we're following a male contestant, and I think he falls in love with a producer on the show, which has happened on The Bachelor. I believe there have been relationships between producers and people on the show, so I believe that that's what this one is about. And it is a male-male romance, and it just looks adorable, and I cannot wait to read it. Moving on to September 14th, we have another one that I actually received an ALC from Libro FM, and that is Apples Never Fall by Liane Moriarty. And I have to say, I think that this is my favorite Liane Moriarty book because I love family drama, and this is more family drama than I would say mystery thriller. It's not as dark or page-turning as Big Little Lies was. I wasn't on the edge of my seat as much as I was with The Husband's Secret, but I did just like this one more because we have more characters. They're really flawed. I loved getting their background. I just really like books about siblings who have complicated relationships with one another and who are kind of competitive. And Apples Never Fall actually reminded me a lot of Malibu Rising by Tara Jenkins Reid, because they're both family dramas, both follow 4 siblings. All the siblings are athletic. In Malibu Rising, they were surfers, and this one, tennis is a big part of their childhood. Their parents ran a tennis camp or tennis league of some kind, and they were all encouraged to play tennis, and that led to some problems because some were better than others, or they didn't love tennis. You know how that goes. So in this one, their mother is missing. 2 of the siblings believe that their father had something to do with it, and 2 of them don't. And it's just very dramatic. And actually, COVID comes into it a little bit, which is interesting. I know we're gonna get more and more COVID books, but yeah. If you like Liane Moriarty, I would say she's back, because I know 9 Perfect Strangers was not everybody's favorite, though I do like the show quite a bit. But yeah, this is like classic Liane Moriarty. I think fans of hers are gonna love that one. And next we have my most anticipated read of the entire year, and that is White Smoke by Tiffany D. Jackson. And this is Tiffany D. Jackson's first horror novel, though she does do thrillers, and she does them perfectly, to the point that they're almost horror because it's just so haunting to read about. The way Tiffany D. Jackson writes is incredible. Monday's Not Coming is one of my favorite books that I read this year. I've read everything she's ever written because she's my favorite author. She's brilliant. And I was actually on a panel with her. I got to see her talk from HarperCollins Canada. They do this every August. And she was one of the guests, and just hearing her talk about how White Smoke is a mix of The Haunting of Hill House and Get Out really sold me on it. I love haunted house books. I'm going to read this the second it comes out. This next one sounds so much fun, and I'm so glad that vampires are back, and it is called The Lost Girls, and it's by Sonia Hartle. And I haven't seen anybody talk about this one yet either, but it is YA, and it's about a vampire who is dumped by her vampire boyfriend, and then 2 other women come to her, and they were also turned by the same man and dumped by the same man. So these 3 vampires are on a revenge quest to kill the man who turned them, and he's got his eye on somebody new, so they're trying to save that girl as well. So that just sounds like so much fun. I think it could be really campy, very feminist, some great found family, female relationships in there. Really looking forward to that one. And then we have a second chance romance, which I'm realizing is one of my favorite romance tropes, and it's called It All Comes Back to You by Fira Naz Rishi. And this one is, as I said, a second chance romance between 2 people who kept their relationship a secret, and now their siblings, I believe her sister and his brother, are dating. So they are in close proximity to one another, and they have to work out their feelings. And that's just the kind of romance that I love, especially in YA, and the cover is just adorable. Cannot wait. Now here's one that's actually been on my TBR before we even had a cover reveal, and it has one of my favorite covers of all time, and that's Not Here to Be Liked by Michelle Quash. And this is a rivals to lover romance. I believe they're both competing to be editor-in-chief of their school newspaper, and she's worked towards this her entire high school career. It's what she's always wanted to do, and he kind of just swoops in and runs out of nowhere, and he's popular and good looking, and so she resents him that it's so easy for him. But then they kind of form a connection, and I think we know where the story goes from there, but it looks really sweet. And I believe she writes an article about misogyny, and it goes viral, so I think that's a big theme in here as well. I've seen some really fun reviews for this next one, and it is The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. And I love any romance or any book in general where the main character is a female in STEM, and obviously from the cover you can see that this is a romance between 2 scientists, and I know that there's fake dating in here. That's really all I know about it. It looks like fun, it looks really sweet. A great book to break up all the horror and thrillers that I plan to read over the next few months. Okay, 2 more for September 14th. This is a huge release day, and this is another one of my most anticipated books of the year because Colson Whitehead is an auto-buy author for me, and this is Harlem Shuffle. And this one follows a character who is reluctantly part of a diamond heist. I think he drives the getaway car, and he thinks that this will be his last heist, his last crime before he can settle down and raise his family. But it all goes wrong, and he finds himself in this seedy situation, and I think he's just trying to get his way out of it. And I've heard that this is more like Colson Whitehead's previous books before Underground Railroad and The Nickel Boys, so I'm really looking forward to exploring that side of his writing and hopefully going back into his backlist. I hope that this one encourages me to do so. There are just so many good books coming out this month. I almost forgot about this one, and it's A Lot Like Adios by Alexis Daria, who wrote You Had Me at Hola, which is one of my favorite romances ever. I talk about that book all the time. I just love it. And this one, I don't think it's a companion. Their covers are very similar, but I think this is its own separate book. I think this is a second chance romance where the male character disappeared, ghosted the female character many years ago, and I believe one of them owns a celebrity gym and the other one works at a marketing company where they're doing marketing for this gym. So of course they're forced to work together. Forced proximity, love it. Second chance romance, love it. The fact that he ghosted her, I'm curious to see what happened there. So I trust Alexis Daria. I loved You Had Me at Hola, so I am gonna prioritize this one for sure. Though it screams summer to me, I will read it in the fall. I cannot wait for that one, of course. Now we're on September 21st, and on the same HarperCollins live stream Zoom meeting that I did, Kendare Blake was there, and I've never read anything by Kendare Blake. I've always seen Anna Dressed in Blood, and I know so many people love that, so if that is good and worth reading now, let me know, because it does look really spooky. But her newest book is All These Bodies, and again, listening to her talk about her inspiration behind this one, actually, she was inspired by real true crime cases, and one of them is the Cutter family. Is it the Cutter or Cutler? The family from In Cold Blood, which is one of my favorite books, one of the books that really got me into true crime, and I just love the narrative style of it. So she's inspired by that case and a few others, and she's talking about how women aren't believed, and I think this is going to be really, really interesting. It's about a girl who is found in a house where people are murdered and she's covered in blood that's not her own. So, and she's telling her story, and investigators are trying to parse out what's true, what's not, what to believe. So, perfect October book. I think that one's going to be incredible. And I just loved her passion for it. Now this next one I don't really know too much about. I haven't seen anybody talk about it, but it's To Break a Covenant by Allison Ames. And the reason I added this is because I live in a mining town. It's very much built around mining, and this book involves a haunted mine that's affecting all the townspeople. They're sleepwalking, they're having nightmares, and they're just acting strange because of what's going on in this mine. And the main characters investigate the mine, and I think a lot of the story probably takes place down there, and that is very spooky for me. Every October, my friends and I do something called is it a haunted terror, something like that. But you go underneath into the mines, and they do like a haunted house, and these characters can actually touch you. It's terrifying. The one year was a clown. I still have nightmares about it, but I do it every year. It's so fun. But this, if I read this before I go this year, I might be too scared to even go, because that sounds like my worst nightmare. Then this next one I actually have an e-arc of, and I started it. I just read the first chapter. I'm so bad with ebooks, but I want to get better. And let me tell you, the writing in this is incredible. This is going to be huge. Everybody is going to talk about this book. I just have a feeling. And it is Iron Widow by Sharon J. Zhao. And this cover, gorgeous. I love the inspiration behind this one. There's a lot of world building already, a lot going on here. And once again, there's some strong feminist themes. Following the main character is a female pilot, and all the pilots in this story are female, I believe. And they often die because of how taxing it is on their bodies. And our main character is kind of figuring out why that is, what's going on here, how to change that. It says here she's labeled an Iron Widow, a much feared and much silenced kind of female pilot who can sacrifice boys to power up chrysalises instead. So she's discovered that she has a secret ability where she can actually use men to power up the ships, which sounds fun. This sounds like such a unique premise, and I've seen some incredible early reviews, and I really should prioritize that ebook because I did really enjoy the first chapter. Now we're on September 28th, and once again, another one of my most anticipated releases of the year, Steel Striker by Mary Lou. I adore Mary Lou. I have read so much of what she's written, but the Sky Hunter, it was my favorite of hers, and I was not expecting that going into this. It's really kind of a simple story, nothing groundbreaking in its premise. It's really about rebellion and just being so pushed down that you rise above, but it's the ultimate found family trope. I think this is really the book that solidified how much I love the found family trope, and it ended in a way that I cannot wait to see where the rest of the story goes. Like, I cannot tell you anything about Steel Striker because it is the second book in the series. I'm not sure if this is a duology or a series. I'll have to look that up. But this is the second book, so, but how gorgeous is that cover? I have read the premise for this next book so many times, and it just sounds so wild, like nothing I've ever read. You just have to go read it. I'm gonna leave links to all of these premises and the synopsises and the trigger warnings down below to the Storygraph. So check them out because you have to read the synopsis for this one because it's just so out there. But it is Light from Uncommon Stars by Rika Aiko. And it's been compared to A Long Way to the Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers, a book I adore. And you just know any book compared to that is going to be heartwarming, full of great unique characters, and this one's also a sci-fi. I'm just going to read you the last paragraph of the synopsis. It says, as the lives of these three women become entangled by chance and fate, a story of magic, identity, curses, and hope begins, and a family worth crossing the universe for is found. So found family trope, I believe. I'm going to read this and love it. I just know it. And the next one is one that I think many of us have been waiting for years, because if you loved All the Light We Cannot See as much as I did, you're going to be excited about this one, and it's called Cloud Cuckoo Land, which is a very interesting title, and that is by Anthony Doerr. All I know about this one is that it takes place in two timelines, and one are following an orphan in Constantinople, and I know that a library, it plays a big role here, and it's really about books and reading and the power of reading. I know that there's a 500-year gap between the first timeline and the second, so I think there is a lot that can be covered in there, and I really did like All the Light We Cannot See, so I'm excited to read more from this author. And now we're on to the last one. It's called Summer Suns by Lee Mandello, and this cover is so creepy to me. There's something about the hands, it's really haunting. And I believe that this one's actually considered dark academia because it's following two best friends. One of them passes away and when he's at Vanderbilt, and the other one goes to discover what happened to his best friend, and he uncovers a lot of secrets. I think there's some ghosts in here. It's creepy and haunting, and some interesting family secrets are revealed, so I can't wait for that. And now my camera battery is dying, so I'm going to wrap this up. Those are all the books that I'm excited about. I know I probably missed some, so let me know what you're excited about that comes out in September, or if you've read any of these are on your TBR. Thanks again for your time. I'll talk to you later. Bye for now.